Welcome aboard the ship. I have an assignment. It's a little bit of review, but it must be necessary. So let's just first tune in before we drop all the way into channel mode or receiving. Just acknowledge your light body behind your eyes. See if you can notice like the vibration of your light being shown to you, being shown to your awareness. Take a few deep breaths and smile as you just really accentuate your breath. Drop into a feeling, if you can, of gratitude as you smile and breathe. And if you will do one assignment to start today as an intention, if you could have the most amazing, you will have the most amazing day. But if there's something that you really are wanting to happen, I want you to already see that on the end scene. See it's already happened today. Something that you know that you were aligning to today. And it could just be like overwhelming joy. You may be invited to invite the scene in, like you don't really know, but you know that there's something that your spirit wants you to acknowledge. And then just give gratitude for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then let it go. And then we'll open our eyes when you feel ready. And before I begin with what the assignment is there anybody who has something to say about that? Like it was easy, or you had a scene, or it was challenging, one of those three things.
It's a practice I do a lot. I see the end result with things. I think that's why I went through the storm thing so easily this time, because I already saw it happening.
Right.
Yeah,
so it's easy for you to tap in and see that.
Yeah. Did I think it would happen this quickly? Like, I have company at the house all week this week, and we have beds and refrigerator and stove, and I just turned the house over to them. It's like,
Yes.
I saw it in the long term, but it happened much faster than what I thought it was going to happen. That's lovely too.
It is.
All this or better.
All this or better. And Madette, were you going to say something? You weren't? Okay.
Hello.
Okay. There's like a big smile on you. Awesome. So there's regular practice that Teddy shares that, again, it quickens. Things become quicker. And not that we're in a rush.
No.
You know, like I'm driving today and I'm like, I just love this life. This is so, I was thinking like, I just love getting up every day. Like the magic that's going to happen. And then I'm like, I don't know, I just like this little child, so thrilled to be here. But I've been in places where I haven't been thrilled to be here, where I didn't like this life at all. And usually it was because I wasn't in practice. It's like I would hit a healthy plateau of doing the practices, and then I was like, oh, I'm good. And then life catches up with you. And then I was like, wait a minute, we need to put a practice back into place. So just realize, like, as things get good, like the practice is still going to want to be, you know, put into place. And if not, that's fine. But I'm just sharing my testimonial of like, I find that I have to get back in so that I can be in the reality creation seat again. So I wrote up here for something I was thinking about earlier, Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things shall be added unto you. And so it kind of goes with this assignment that we just did. It's like you have to, again, these practices that we put in place, and we seek the kingdom of God within us through meditation, through these visions. We seek it through prayer, through scriptures, through reading things, through channeling. You know, all of this is seeking within and realizing that when I close my eyes, all that's within, yes, it's seemingly inside, but it's everywhere. You are claiming that, and you are coming into the embodiment of it so that all can be added onto you. And so these visions that we do, these spoken words that we do to ourselves, these affirmations, then can actualize and come into fruition and literally be expressed on the earthly plane. So there really is nothing new under the sun in the higher existence. Like everything already is. So behind our two eyes, everything already is. We actually have to seek and get in alignment, and then be willing to like be so worthy of having it to come into the existence. And then the earth becomes the expression of the true reality where everything already is. The earth becomes the form place where we get to put it into form. So we're meant to have all these things, everything we could ever desire. We're meant to actually drop it all the way down and bring into formation. And these practices that, again, are still going on, I promise you will lead to a life of fulfillment and joy, and like driving, like I was earlier, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. And I get so blissed to be in community and to be around other like-minded beings. It's like, hallelujah.
Yes.
You know, and the magic, I'm intending that 2025 brings, we are dropping into even deeper practices, more, you know, coming together in community, which is our first week of the month. We typically have a lot go on. First Wednesday is Superpower Meetup. So next week, Wednesday at 6 to 7, Superpower. We practice our cities, our superpowers. And then the first Thursday of the month, for years, I've been doing quantum jump meditation, but we're going to like mix it up a little bit. We're going to do, again, more practices. Like, let's do some more embodiment creation practices. So this Thursday, if you come, we're actually going to do a 2025 activation with some scripting, literally writing some things out. So putting these practices in place, we add on, all the things get added onto us. And when you have evidence and proof start to happen because the things start happening, then you're building new belief systems inside, and the old ones get either transfigured and dissolved, or you may have to still do some uprooting. Because if they conflict, if you have new evidence that's showing you all these things that you're visualizing, embodying, speaking, scripting, let it out, does not match some old belief system, even though for like, you're doing great, and then all of a sudden it comes up again. How did it get there? Because of the similar factors in your life of that, either the same date, you know, or the same archetype shows up, and some old belief you thought was definitely gone shows itself, and then those two conflict. And you know they're conflicting because sometimes you won't feel worthy. Like, I can't have this. And you backpedal and say, well, maybe that's too big, and you stayed in the comfort zone, which is all fine, but you can just see where things need to actually be possibly uprooted from some old belief system that just popped up its head, so that all things can be added on at the next level. So today's assignment is things that I've done this before, but it's looking at the maps, the current maps and any existing maps that are binding us into lower reality fixed existence and keeping you out of your quantum interstellar ability to phase shift into higher outer projections of the astral plane, the causal plane, the plane of salvation, and all the other things that, you know, we don't have words for, but I'm just trying to tie in some things that will help us go, oh yeah, oh yeah. So when we realize that all that we see in front of us has a map system, right? We can pull up Google Maps. We can pull out a paper map. And there literally is this map system that's in place, right? Because we memorize these maps and we all believe in them collectively, it creates landmass. It creates what we see in front of us. But is it really there? We're realizing no. It's just memorized material that projects itself and stacks up the light particles like a 3D printer for us to feel like we're walking down Clearwater Beach. But when we start to change the maps, literally, if you get an assignment, you know, for a while, I'd wake up to burn the maps in my head, burn the maps. I'm like, I gotta go out there and burn a map? Like, really? Yeah, I had to burn a map. Burn the maps as an assignment so that I could get out of any fixed positions that were keeping me from having things be more malleable to play into these higher reality creation stations. What do you think about that, Justin?
I don't know. Burning the maps, like reset for everyone.
Yes. So there's been maps. Through time, you can do some Googling and going even to the dark web and things like that and find some hidden maps that were here that we don't have anymore, that were already burnt. We can see beyond the ice wall, other maps, other continents, you know, is one thing I just saw come across my feed. But even beyond that, like we could find, like in the maps of Tartaria, you know, the land masses look different. We've been also shared stories that, you know, as time changes, the continents move around, and so the maps change. Atlantis, right? We see the water rise and sink, and, you know, continents and landmass comes up and comes out of phase because it's hidden by water. So there's many different levels of understanding reality of maps changing. We all can kind of go, yeah, well, maps change. Right?
I understand that part, but as far as like the stacked up like critical thing, like I feel like that brown building, car wash, whatever, in my mind and belief system or whatever, like that is mass that's there and everybody is gonna see it and everybody walking by is gonna see it. It's just, to me, it's just like that's what it is. And I would assume you would say, well, that's because of my beliefs about it.
We've memorized it there.
Right.
And yes, it's gone through 3D practical motions of gross matter formation. Someone had a thought of, like, I'm going to build a car wash, right? And then they've got an architect, they drew the map, and then they went through all the motions of what we have, like, all memorized, the way reality creates itself into gross matter, right? We change one form of concrete, we stack it up into bricks.
So that everything has a thought form before it gets created.
Yes. Right? So we've become accustomed to that sequence of events, the thought and the movement and the action puts it all together using the elementals that are here that are on gifting mode, right? They just keep on giving. They're just nonstop producing, and we're stacking them up. Because again, that's the common way we all think about it. There's been other times, though, in other existence, that we just did it with the thought. And I know people here we just had the thought and it just instantly quantum jumped and you're like, oh my God, that just changed in front of my eyes. You may have done a double take, like, nah, right? Disbelief sets in. Or how am I going to tell anybody about this? But whatever the thing is, as far as that maybe slowed it down or got you to, like, not fully embrace it and make it be your new norm as a collective, our new norm, that we just think things into creation, this is where we're at. As you're willing to actually look in your own meditation and today, look at things like, do I have anything that's keeping me bound out of the best life? That's what my goal is today. Like, best life reality creation with more ability. more thought ability, which is that causal realm, is to have more ability to think it and so it is, to speak it and so it is. With that, though, it comes a lot of responsibility. Because when you do say things and think things, when you're in this level of your growth, they will happen really quick. They are always going to happen. But if you're not embodying these higher, or these more of your subtle bodies, so if you are, you've just gotten good at this level of embodiment of your aura packet, and you're seeking to have more ability to, let's say, think it and so it is. You're going to need to have more ability of your aura to actually phase shift instantly from that thought, but that's going to require you not to be so fixed on the gross matter and more aligned to the dark matter and the antimatter, to the things out of the unseen in all of existence, but most importantly, even in your own aura. So if we're just looking like simply, like, let's just say, let's just keep it simple. Like 1st through 3rd subtle bodies is your etheric, let's say. And then your 4th subtle body, the astral. And just for simplification, we'll go with 5 through 7, causal. And so we have a strong, in the ethereal, it's so close to home of the gross matter of the physical body that, we're used to like building the building this way with the bricks and the mortar. We're used to building the body this way with the bricks and the mortar of the food and the things that are going to build density onto the body. But as we start getting good with the astral and the feelings, right, we can start feeling in higher states and things start also shifting more quickly. And then we go into the mental of the causal and we start thinking, right, blueprinting, speaking, we'll kind of pair those together, speaking and thinking, higher level thoughts of today's an amazing day. You go to the end scene, today is all day magical. This whole year of 2025, phenomenal. The things that happened this year, whoo! If any of you are YouTube creators, y'all became like the most viral content there is. You changed the whole world. Like, good on you. Right? So you get so good at thinking and speaking these as is, wish fulfilled, these literal speaking it into creation. And you get good at less speaking in social settings of the woe, the sadness. Money don't grow on trees.
Don't tell
Yeah,
my
it
mom
does.
that.
It just keeps, that's hard. You shift out of these ways of socially thinking because you're knowing that every bit, literal, of light particle that you spin out from your word and from your thought, from your mind's eye, literally is currency that's stacking up to create either instantly because you've gotten to the point of singularity and you've gotten to 0 point, or you're taking a little bit of time because you're still fixated, 50% on the gross matter of what you see out in front of you as to be true. So as we get more dominant in our thoughts, in our speech, in our behind our eyes visions, we pay less attention to what's going out in front of us to be true, and more to be true with what I say and what I speak and what I see behind my 2 eyes. And that then starts to speed up to where these things then become instantly in front of you.
Going back to what you said, helps us to know that we are that creator and that we are that responsible.
Yes.
Not just throwing out thought forms here and there. It's like we really are when you have that knowledge, you're totally responsible for it.
Yes. Which is why, for me, for years I did therapy and people told me their woes. I did craniosacral, you know, and I'm like compounding it basically. You know, I mean, they were having a lot, like great things were happening, but then there came a point where Spirit's like, enough already. You can't do this anymore. You can only give the keys back. You can only, you know, teach them what you're doing, have it do them for themselves. No more of that. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it became more of like coaching and mentoring of like the great life. Like, let's only say like the most amazing things that we could say, because I know that for me in front of me, if I see it and hear you saying it, it compounds and I project it infinitely of what you just said.
Or responsible for changing it.
Yes. And responsible for changing it. So I'm like, clear, cancel, delete.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm even out loud, delete,
Mm-hmm.
delete,
Mm-hmm.
delete.
Yeah.
They're like,
How did
what?
it get in my reality?
What is that?
How did it get into my reality?
Yes.
So you're responsible for it.
And that.
And the unconsciousness you're
Yes.
responsible for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're finding then your hand in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how am I creating this?
Mm-hmm.
And how can I uncreate it and create a better scene for all?
I've become the observer of myself, so that like if I'm in a triggered state and I'm in my like more negative, intense emotions, like I can observe it and I'm like, okay, you're there, and I'll try the practice like, let me just create a bubble of positivity, but I'm in those emotions that I just have to go through. So it's like I'm aware, like, okay, you're going down this roller coaster, but I kind of just have to get through
Yes,
it.
so let's speak to that. So if you're there and you have to go through it, like, yeah, like we don't want to peace, love, dove it and run away from it. We want to like fully embody and embrace it and love on it with awareness. At least for me. Go through it. The only way out is through. So that I can find the gold in it, right? So I can unearth the big boulder of this emotion that just came through. And find out, is it mine? First of all, on a like more small self, is it mine? No. Is it the group I'm going to be with today? No. Is it my neighbor? Yes. Oh, right? Because I'm growing in my ability to be able to feel more and to know that all is one and all is connected. So I will find my hand in it. Where did it come from? Yes, it can come from the neighbor, but do I believe the neighbor to be a certain way? And I'm further projecting the reality to be experienced. I'm adding on to from my belief and giving them like, oh yeah, they're always angry. You know, I want to stop saying that. You know?
Perpetuates it.
Yeah. And I'm holding it down again from my lens. I create the reality to be certain ways. So I'm finding my hand in how am I creating this reality to be a certain way if it's outside of myself. This is the work. If I really do believe they're amazing, you know, always, all the time, maybe I'm doing some, you know, bodhisattva work. Maybe I'm holding a higher space of like literally just holding space and being a witness for them to transfigure in the field, you know. And I was feeling and I was processing it, you know. I was getting upset, I was sad, it was whatever the feelings literally came through me, I channeled through me. So there's different levels, but we want to feel it and transfigure it and understand it. When we understand, the light particles actually will move from those fixed positions. When we don't understand, usually they stay and they recycle, and then that imprint still is in the field. And you're like, why isn't this changing? Because you didn't gather the understanding. And we've actually seen it on camera now. I think it was Dan Winter's research at the Heart Math Institute, where they literally were able to see as soon as someone gained understanding, the light particle moved and went back through the torus.
Wow.
But if you don't understand the light particle, which is your own soul essence, literally stays fixed position and it just stays there as a big boulder in your field.
Identify it.
Yes, identify it. Right? So, coming back, when you realize that as you moved out of this gross matter that's being projected from the first through third subtle bodies with etherical webbing of light, and you start realizing, wait a minute, this is actually slowed down reality because I just dreamt this whole thing last night. So if I dreamt all this last night, which I did every night during the day before, then this is really not to be paid attention to as much as what I would see behind my two eyes. This is just a shadow.
It's over already.
It's already over. It's old news. So we start, like, whatever these evidence, if it's, you borrow other people's evidence. If you don't have this evidence of dreaming, the future, then borrow mine. Like, we borrow each other's evidence to go, oh, wait a minute, let me loosen up my grip around this circumstance that's going on in my life. It can change. I can start unbinding myself from all that I've memorized is true because I keep basing yesterday's past to project my future and be my now. So let me get ahead of this. Let me actually go to the other way of looking at things and start implanting and memorizing new end scenes of the best life. And it may be things you're putting in, meaning you feel like you're putting in a vision, you have a desire, like I usually use pretty like simple things like you desire to live on the beach or you desire to live in some kind of house. You close your eyes, you see it clear as day. You're there already. You're at the end scene. So you're embodying it. You're being in it more often. You're having more faith and putting more of your focus in this kingdom behind your two eyes that it eventually, if you allow it, can be instant as you do less of your gripping on the reality of the gross matter that's in front of you. Okay?
So practicing what you just said, just, envision, keeping that vision always, or as much as you possibly can, top of mind.
My practice is when I'm in alpha state, when my brain has slowed down and I'm starting to get drowsy at night, and when I'm in the morning, when I'm waking up, I'm immediately going into some of these practices of visioning. This rising, I was like, so-and-so feels amazing because they weren't feeling amazing yesterday. I'm like, they feel amazing, and I'm like going into a rant inside myself of like some awesome things for the day. And if I can add in some vision, you add in some vision. A lot of time for me, the most visions I'm usually doing is more like people smiling. I'm smiling in the vision. Because if we're smiling, then good things are happening. And the details as far as like what would have been like a vision are more my words that I'm saying to myself, the self-talk that's going on. But it's easy for me to conjure up a vision of me smiling or someone glowing. Yeah.
I think it was Lynn McTaggart that talked about leaky margins because things are so fixed in this, and if you can have leaky margins through everyone and everything, it gives it that more potential to come in its true reality. And then we say all this are better.
Yes.
If we haven't imagined it, then all this are better.
And that kind of makes me think about realizing, like, if you really study physics and you see that really nothing is solid,
Right.
it's waving. Like we look like we're all sitting here, but like we're all like these wavy gravy. So it becomes, more malleable. Like, wait, everything really is really flexible and fluid. So like, can you see it fluid? Especially something that seems like it's so fixed, like make it more fluid, and then see if you can imagine that it shifts to something new. Okay, so the maps.
Where are the maps?
Yes. So we use the maps, we utilize the memorized maps for good reason, right? Because there has been, when I pulled the corners up from all sorts of paperwork, I was left like, I need a map. Like, nobody can see me. I was trying to find a building to rent again, and I've told this example, but I went to one place And I filled out paperwork a couple times. They came back the next day. They had no idea who I was every time. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm so out of phase. Like, what do I need to do to get back in the game? And so I had to put everything into the next phase of my assignment, but I was dragging my feet on it, which was the ecclesiastical trust. Put things in private trust. And then I was able to be seen. And I got a phone call from this building I had before. Said, hey, they're leaving. Would you actually want this? I'm like, yes! Like after looking at 7 other places and all kinds of weird things happening out of phase. So the maps are beneficial, but it's just for you to really take inside an awareness and go, like the that or better. I love like everything that I'm like this reality that I'm basing and fixing my reality to be unable to do X, Y, or Z. Please clear, cancel, delete, dissolve, dismantle anything that's not for my highest good that's connected to maps. And, you know, let the highest good map arrive. Let me phase shift into the highest version map there possibly is. So this also came, I'm seeing an example from this morning. I look out of the bedroom window I'm staying in, and do all these details matter? Yeah, okay. So I'm staying at the spaceship house. You guys missed the spaceship talk before. Should I add that in? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So I'm writing Quantum Interstellar Medbed and Starship Aura book, and I'm not allowed to go anywhere. You know, I'm not allowed to ride my bike. I tried to do it 3 times, the tire burst. 3 times. I'm like, I had to wear shoes on the land outside because my energy was too much. They told me I couldn't take off my shoes on the ground. I could only take my shoes off when I was able to go to Honeymoon Island, the crystalline sands.
That makes sense.
So there was a whole download on that yesterday. Okay, so I'm writing the book. I wake up I'm in dream time on a spaceship. I wake up lucidly in the middle of the night. It was like, I use the 3 a.m. as an example. And I'm told to go to my white couch, my spaceship mothership driver couch, to finish the night off. I go there, I close my eyes again, I'm back in the spaceship that I was in the dream, and I see this woman. And I'm like working with her. You know, we were like, kind of like, I haven't seen a lot of the Star Trek, but it feels like those kind of scenes where they're like, you know, working on stuff. And I meet this lady and I'm like, wow, this is so cool, because I'm always looking for like the crew, you know, in part of my book, if you've ever read it, it tells you to like find your light crew, you know, who's working with you on the mothership, what starships are coming into the mothership. And so I'm like, wow, I got one of my first crew members. This is awesome. So I get a nudge the next day. I'm telling my mom, like, I really want to get out. She's like, I'm hearing you should go to Escape Route Juicery. You should go there. Okay. So I go there with my little laptop, writing my book. And here comes the woman from the spaceship. And she's jumping around. She's got 2 dogs tied onto her belt to ground her, she said. She's like, how to get these dogs to ground me? She says she's from Venus. And I'm like, I met you last night. Sure enough, Hannah and I become good friends. We meet in the middle of the night every so often, and we meet on the spaceship, but I have to go to my couch to meet her. Now I'm living in her house on the spaceship couch that she was on when I was talking to her, which is why I was just giggling to myself yesterday, like, this is the couch, is so funny. So interdimensionally, behind the smoke and mirrors, we are out of phase and then in phase, having our connection on this starship mothership, you know, couch system. So I was supposed to tell you that part, but it wasn't the part I wanted to tell you. I look outside the window of the bedroom I'm staying in, and I noticed that she bought a lot of the technologies in here. She had one of these technologies on a pad, a concrete pad. I can't think of the guy's name right now. I'll put it in the comments later, but he had another scalar device. It's more of like a pyramid shape. Roland. Is that name coming to you? Roland. And his scalar device like was helping to keep things kosher there because she was having all sorts of interdimensional things with these lower spaceships. Well, someone who stayed there got rid of it. And I had a phone call with Hannah yesterday and I said, you know, I have to be very mindful when I go on the Therify now because we don't realize what we're playing with. It's a time machine. And where I'm at right now at the point of singularity, I cannot go on there too much. And I also feeling like I need to get rid of most of the technologies, even the tensor rings, because we've already landed. We've landed where we wanted to go. And now like, it's like, let's just enjoy where we're at in this new realm. So anyways, the concrete. So this concrete pad that I had helped make sure this device was working properly, got rid of by someone who stayed there. One of the many people that have come through this center have stayed at that house. And it moved. So the concrete pad is in a new place now. And I look out the window, I'm like, what? The concrete pad is now over like 6 feet. So if I didn't understand reality creation like I do, I'd be like, what is going on? Kind of like I talked about the other day, the Mandela effect, you know, like things just like jump. So as we start to realize we have less grip on the gross matter, things will move. You know, we did an assignment on that building. We were into bringing clothes here and trading with each other. We'd have like gifting circle of like all our clothes that we want to get rid of. So we did a magic act and it turned into a goodwill for a while. Right, so we're good at like things that kind of come in and out. Yeah, it wasn't a car wash for a little bit. It just returned back into what it is. So things that are a little bit easy for us to wrap our brain around, we can phase shift or change. Whereas sometimes you need to have a hurricane to literally knock some stuff down if you were literally to like do like a change that way, because that's easier for you to believe that a hurricane or something would like move things around for some people, right? You getting me?
Mm-hmm.
Is this all making sense? Any questions before I go on the next drawing I gotta do? Justin? No, it's not making sense, or it is making sense?
Oh, it's making sense.
Okay. So when you realize that if you're fixed to your name, your social security number, to the maps, to everything you see in the gross matter as the only thing that's real, you then keep basing your next day on that memorized material and things just stay the same. And that's how it's been for majority of population, because that's safe. That's what they're used to. You know, maybe it was wiped out because there was a time when we actually knew, when we were, you know, higher levels of DNA were activated, all of our DNA were on board. We knew we were, you know, a total light being. The things that I'm talking about as far as having something thought, it would just materialize in front of us. If you've had lucid dreaming, you've been an out-of-body experience, you've had a near-death experience, and things have just literally materialized in front of you very easily, that's how it's meant to be. But because there's such fixed bindings in the lower reality, and we are basing our now on those fixed bindings to be what is the only thing that can be happening, it just gets, you know, very deeply hypnotized and embedded into the population. So as you're willing to like shake it up, you go, well, okay, I get that. And now we've got quantum mechanics and quantum physics to back this all up, so it's not just, you know, some yogi or somebody trying to tell you about like your superpowers and your cities. This is like real, you know, spirituality meets science like head on. So as you start to go, wait a minute, my dreams are more real than the day. So let me start doing more lucidity work. You know, let me start really becoming mature in my emotions and realize that also in dream time, but in the daytime, this is all a dream. Let me make it more malleable. Let me realize that as I am in higher states of joy and in higher states of love, my particles spin up instead of spin down. And I can have things be more malleable and fluid and more coherent with my higher visions. So it may take you a little bit more time, or a little bit less time, to actualize it when you're getting good at the heart seat, when you're getting good at your feelings. This is my noticing, and the research I've done on myself, is that it takes more time when I'm focused more on the emotions as being my driver to create reality. It's helpful, but it's not as instant as when I start mastering the causal, which is mental. And I have more ability to be neutral with my emotions and maintain a witness than getting all hyped up and all being less of the joystick driver of the emotions. It's still wonderful, and it's still a part of your quantum ability to heart mind coherent your thought with your feeling till they match, so there is an instant. But there's more power when you master witnessing more. You're neutral. It's like a bliss state. Bliss essentially is the emotion that occupies the whole field. Everything comes open to the higher, the field opens completely in bliss. Like the Therify is rotating on bliss. It is two equal and opposite phi ratios that are opening up bliss right there. That's why when you get on there, make sure you think about what you want and not what you don't want. So when we realize that the astral plane actually starts to open up more landmass for you, meaning there's actually more than what meets the eye, you can literally realize that there's way more field, way more of, it's like you go from a earth to like all of a sudden everything opens up. Space opens up. Expansion. Thank you. Then when you jump into the causal realm, so your aura is growing. It always is. It's always this big, but you're becoming more embodied in it and more ability when you access the wider net of your aura. When you get into this higher field of the causal, it becomes infinite. So no longer is this an earth. Now it's like stacked up planes of existence that are actually 9 billion earths.
Wow.
And this is how you then can start to understand that everyone really is having their own thought reality.
Wow.
You saw that? So then you have real compassion for where you, as a witness, you find each being on their journey. And yes, there's always responsibility. When you get to the heart of the matter, you realize that you can create all beings to be in wholeness, living in the most amazing lifestyle, right? By having these larger thoughts that are all encompassing. So you catch yourself. And you realize that everything you're going to think, everything you're going to say is either happening right then or it's a little bit just around the bend. And if you pay attention, you will actually have the evidence to see that it did occur. What does that make you think about, Gigi?
I mean, it just makes sense. Like I mean, the way that you just framed that makes so much sense, and it's just, the pathway to get there. It's just, yeah. Like when I look at it from your perspective, what you just said, it does help me to have more compassion for people. So.
Yeah, compassion, and then like we were saying, just like the willingness to add them into your living and the assumption of their best life.
Right. Yeah, because I always want to run away. It's like, no, I don't want that. And then I want to retreat. But yeah, that.
But if you're willing to stay and feel, right, we worked with that, and like go into it and realize I have a responsibility, I created this.
Yeah.
From some typically early archetype from childhood or other timeline, where there was a split that occurred, a distortion or misunderstanding, then it becomes gold to like actually lean into it and recode it and give it permission to free up and become wavy and transfigure and transform. And then when you have evidence of including others in, it's such a beautiful time. When I literally get up and my household is so blissed out because I remember to add them in. It's the remembering. And then the solidifying it at a level, if there is any, the crystallizing, that it becomes a new neural pathway sequence within myself, that I no longer have to do so much of the work to put it in, that I literally am living in the embodiment, and the field around me is also in the embodiment of this highest existence. And the work's in between there. Right? So where we don't have that happening that's the work. And may we be in service and be on purpose and be in joy as we're in the work while it's working on us.
To me, it feels like it all boils down to like mental discipline.
Yes.
Period.
They call Earth a school for self-mastery, and they mean it.
Yes.
You want to come here,
Yeah.
you'll learn self-mastery.
Self-mastery. This is a school for it.
Yep.
Well, I guess mental and spiritual discipline.
Yeah. And we start to realize it is, the mind is it is the creator for the spirit to dwell in and play and create.
And like, so when you started class and we did that for a second, it was like super easy, but let's say I'm home or something, I tend to not have as much of that discipline. I don't know if I'm just distracted or I'm just comfortable but I don't know.
Do you have a meditation station? So one great thing I suggest for everybody, if you don't have it already, is to have inside and outside a place that you meditate, where you do your work, your practice. Because in that space, you will literally, it'll open up more energy for you, so that when you drop in, you sit there, it's like, and you actually were sitting in my meditation station when you came over to the house a couple days ago. Like, that's where I sit, right? And I go in immediately. From being able to do that so many times, you can make that space be really easy to drop into. And then have a place outside as well. And
I could get one of these and then
sure,
put it in the center of my circle rug and just be like, okay, I'm gonna go in there and do the discipline work. And
And then you start the day and you end the day in that space, and it literally gets your vehicle, your star, your aura in gear. So it becomes it liberates you for the rest of the day, because you've started there and you end there.
And how does that compare with, because I've gotten a lot of guidance before about like maybe journaling out how you want the day to go.
Yeah.
Like, so that versus the writing of it.
So for me, I like to do a little bit of all of it. I'm a little bit of a multitasker. So my rising typically is meditating, reading something that's sacred. Right now I've got like 6 books, because I got your 3 books there too, and I ordered a couple. Always have a journal out, so I do scripting. Sometimes right now I'm doing like a left side of the page, finding what just naturally in my subconscious, like that comes up. So I have like a prompting, my health is all the different categories of life I have on the left-hand side I've been playing with, of what just comes when I just let myself subconsciously think. And then on the right side, I upgrade it, so I put a super conscious statement.
Intentional.
Yes. And I'm just playing with those pages, and I'm ripping out the left side and I take it to the fire.
Yeah.
But I do like the best life, right? Scripting. Just to complete. And then a little bit more meditating, and I work out. I go do something, movement, stretch, which leads to a walk. But it's time to get the dance back in there, because that's been out of sequence for a while. What were you gonna say?
Then the other side or piece would be like just like fully trusting in like God's source, divine plan. I don't need to have or do the disciplinary work because I just
Mhm.
trust and turn it all over and just be like, how does that go along with or compare with?
And this is the thing I notice that when if I'm living in the present moment in the flow, and I have a practiced life of like being in love and being in the presence, being in the willingness to like flow with life, like, oh, you know, I'm gonna go over here, and like really being present and flowing. I find that way of life is awesome. But if I'm going through the day and I'm still neurosing about the future and the past, and I'm not being present, my not having a practice starts to catch up with me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's all about like, can I maintain presence? Is that my all day practice? Yes, I hope so. And for whatever reason, doing an AM and PM practice through my life has just been golden.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Because all that is the greater presence of God is me. So if I'm not getting connected with that and really embodying that through my practice in the day or in the rising and the setting, then I'm leaving all sorts of lower formation and lower imprints and lower reality just to like live itself out, which is fine, right? Because there's so much to learn in that. And it is your natural destiny to go through that. But it becomes separate. It's like I'm going through it rather than this is all me. And I'm actually in the full awareness of all that's going to happen because I'm embodying it through these practices.
I almost see it like kind of like feminine, masculine, or like actively creating versus just kind of being
Yes.
and allowing it to happen.
It's a nice balance when you do, I find it, right? The rising divine masculine practices of all the scripting and visualizing and meditating, and then the rest of the day flowing through that beautiful sacred tapestry that you just laid out and are aware of. You get to flow and be present in it. So beautiful. Anybody else on that want to share that was giving guidance to each other? How you doing, Justin?
I'm well.
Making sense?
Yes.
Helpful?
Yeah, very.
One thing that you could share, just one thing that seems helpful that you gathered?
To be in the present moment as
Yeah.
much as possible, really.
Yeah.
And to have a practice while in the present moment. Otherwise, your mind will just circle around what's in there.
Yeah. And so like having a positive phrase or some mantras that you say to yourself to help yourself not get out of control in the mind. Right? We have to train the mind. It is a weapon at some level.
There's the self-mastery.
There's the self-mastery, yes. So the mind is meant to be your servant to create reality, to stack up light particles. But if you don't get the God self, goddess self, giving it direction and getting control of it, then it will run rampant through all the memorized material that it's got to go off of in the hard drive. It's like, oh, I'm going to think this, oh, look at that billboard. And it's just going off.
The unconscious.
The unconscious.
Yeah.
Just like, whew, what? And then you think you're it. And you're like, I don't like myself. Especially in the lower world that the inverted script that's still playing out in the fake matrix. If you don't understand how to pull that root up and burn that map, then you are left to think, oh my God, this is horrible. And then I think horrible because I'm the mind that's thinking all these billboards. Right? This is where a lot of people are at. So you have to re-script them. You got to look at the billboards backwards, read it backwards. That says "Mooka Bob" instead of vacuum. You know, you got to find little tricks to be in the inverted world that's still left over, that has still been shadowed out from your memory. You're still in the part of the memorized material that it's still showing up that way. And you got to recode it, read it backwards, flip it. Don't look at signs if you're not there yet. Look at trees, stars, sky. And then that way that's more of what you're going to project out in the future, because you're rememorizing new things from the two eyes into the hard drive.
Seeing the beauty in everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then seeing the beauty.
Yes.
By seeing the so-called dark matter or the dark script or the dark inversion, and knowing that behind it is the perfected, the other half of it. And so then you start to be willing to see the beauty in it and find the beauty in it. Well, what is beautiful about that? How could I recode that? You know, like when we think about, you know, something that's so horrific to somebody, but down the road, you realize in hindsight really what a blessing that was, like the hurricane or something like that, right? You can, and the newness that came, like you start to see the reason things have to recycle in a way in this PlayStation that we find ourselves in. Because it is meant to be malleable, not fixed. You think about the people who traveled, maybe you are in other timelines, or you traveled with your family on camels, you know, carrying your house, unfolding the yurt and packing the yurt up. You know, you were very fluid and moved. So the mind, making sure you have a positive phrase. Justin, do you have one that you say to yourself?
I am capable of overcoming challenges.
So I am capable of overcoming challenges. Always. I would add always into there. Just a suggestion. And then I would... So I always tell people, if you could choose one statement your whole life that you could easily jump into if you need it, know it. Mine started at 18, God is love. It turned into God is light, love, and understanding. And that comes in so handy at the randomest points where I'm like about to go down the rabbit hole and like be nervous or something weird happening, especially driving. I'm like, God is love, light, and understanding. You know, and so you quickly give the mind something to spin on, so that it doesn't go down a dark hole, and then you're projecting out a reality of poo.
And we're lucky that it likes repetition.
Yes. Yeah.
Clear, cancel, delete the last thing you said.
Delete, clear, thank you. Clear, cancel, delete. That's a thing, right? To be here now and to learn how to socialize, to educate in a way that is of most high.
Connect.
And connect.
And have your tools ready.
And have your tools ready, yeah. And to notice that, how do you be in the present moment? You know? That practice, you could focus on your breath, and that will slow you down and get you right here, right now. You can listen, but not have to try to understand fully. Just listen and open up space. If someone's talking and you're starting to get like way off to the left or way off to the right with your thoughts, past or future thinking, you can just widen your gaze and widen your hearing and just help yourself by taking that breath and just have compassion and grace with yourself for a moment while you're getting reconnected to the present moment. You may have to ask them, can you repeat yourself? I have to do that a lot because I have to do that. Like, I'm so multidimensional that I'm like getting downloads, someone's talking and I'm like, okay, let me come back in, you know, and be present. And can you repeat yourself? And then I might ask within myself, do I need to share that with them? Is that why that was coming through so strongly? Yes. So these higher levels of your consciousness may want to get your attention to bring it forward. So taking a breath, widening your gaze, forgetting about what you need to say to them. There's the opposite of that. Like, can you just listen and be present with them and really hear their emotions and hear what they're trying to say behind the words, and give them space to give it to you, to be able to receive and just not have what you're going to tell them. Well, I got to tell them 10 things, right?
Or fill in their words.
Fill in their words. Or be right. Be right instead of be loving and kind, just present. And when we're able to embody presence, be presence more often, it becomes the way of life. Things instantly manifest quickly when they're meant to, because you are at 0 point. And when I say 0 point, that means presence, that means midline in your central channel. You're fully here. And if we had a cross, that cross channel would come at the heart, and we're centered right here at 0 point, holding space, holding steady. And when you're able to navigate the avatar, the aura in this way, being fully present in your central channel, holding a witness in bliss, it opens. What you think instantly happens right in front of you. So it gets really fun. Okay, so the assignment had to do with understanding that let's just first ask within. Ask, where are you the most of your essence? Is it in, I'm going to say several things. They don't all go together. Is it in the causal realm? Is most of your essence in the causal realm? Mental. I'm just going to use different words in case it comes up different. Astral. Etherical. And then we'll do a second one in a minute. Raise your hand if you got yes to causal. One.
Creator.
What?
The creator.
Creator. Mental, even though those two can go together. Mental. Wow. Okay. That's why I was like, okay, all right, I'll say it. Astral. 1, 2.
Kind of like on the verge of astral.
Okay. And etherical. Okay.
Is etherical and astral different?
So astral's more like the, connected to your heart energy center. That's most of your energies coming through that heart energy center and actualizing through the astral realm. Whereas the etherical, like I put on the map here of the body map, it's more of like your first 3 energy centers and more of that tapped into the more of the form and the gross matter. More physical. And now I'm going to ask that another question. Well, first, before I do that, is that the answer you got, did it make sense to you? And that was just in that moment.
Yeah.
We're
I always thought myself to be more, I guess, heart-centered, but
yeah. And then we were just, again, it was just one little research moment. So now we're going to ask within 3 of the matters. Is the majority of your essence connected and working with gross matter, antimatter, dark matter? And what?
What's the antimatter when you work with the?
So it's the phase shifter.
Yeah.
It's like, I got an apple right in my hand. Can you see it? Right? It can come in and out of phase. It's here, but it's out of phase. You don't see it unless you really focus. All of a sudden, you're going to see the apple. You see it?
You see it in my mind's eye.
So it's that in between where it can come in and out of phase quickly. It's all the same thing. It's all light particles, but it's what vibration are they spinning at? So when it's in gross matter, it's dropped into density, and we see the gross matter. We see these form. When it's in antimatter, it's in between, and when it's in dark matter, it's literally way deep and and the space, the pure consciousness existence. It's
Waiting-
beyond,
waiting to be created.
more of a wave, if anything, waiting to be created, like she said,
Right around the corner.
right around the corner. So when we have our eyes closed, we're seeing into that dark matter. We start to blueprint, you know, well, I see a house, and it starts going to antimatter, and then we open our eyes. Oh my gosh, there it is. I just saw that house in my mind's eye. Realtor takes you there, you know. So what, yes to gross matter? Who got yes to gross matter? One. Yes to antimatter?
What if we do more than one?
Sure, I'm just playing.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then yes to dark matter. Cool. See, because that goes, it's like the opposite of the etherical.
I know, it's just kind of,
Which shows you your balance, you know?
Is it? Okay.
I mean, you can ask
Interesting.
about that. Ask within, what does that mean to you? Everybody do that. Ask within what the information you just got, what does it mean to you? And then open your eyes when you feel ready. Anybody want to share about what they got? Yeah, I'm done.
So I was a little bit confused because I'm like, what? That's why I asked you, what's antimatter? What's, you know, and I just wasn't sure. I think I'm between anti and dark, and I'm like totally confused. And then when you said, okay, what does it mean to you? And I closed my eyes, I'm like, what does this mean? And I just kind of heard, I'm shifting.
Yes.
And that's why I can't get a hold on any of this because I'm shifting.
I mean, every now moment we're shifting, right? Every now moment we are all of this, playing with all of it, but in the moment of me asking, where's the majority of your essence, you know, super concentrated on, what's it working with? There's no good, bad, or like more high, you know, skill, because we work with these things all day, every day. It is existence. We are it. And when I just asked for what's it mean to me, because I got yes to etherical and yes to gross matter, and I said, well, what's that mean to me? They said, well, because you're so focused on what's happening right now. Like, that's where your focus is. You're focusing on seeing everybody right now with, you know, fully grounded, fully here. And then they showed me meditating this morning and walking the Victoria Drive in Dunedin. And they were like,
that is
you,
the practice, though.
yeah, and they were like, you were in the
Staying
causal there.
Right. While
Yes.
your consciousness is flowing up there while you're walking on the ground.
Yeah, and then to
And you're
be,
visualizing at the
yes,
same time. Multi-dimensional and loving it.
yes, multidimensionally loving it, multi-practiced, understanding where, when you're doing certain things, what's really happening, so that you can start being more super conscious of how the reality is being navigated by your awareness and being created by your senses. Like, whoo, it's good when you start opening this up, the lens. Then what is seemingly invisible, you can start to believe because it's scientific. Again, you're building evidence, and like you're becoming like, well, this is real, you know. What is invisible can start to show up for you quickly.
I felt growth.
Growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what came to me.
Mm-hmm. Good.
I think it's good to know too, when we ask people, like, are you high visual? Then we'll know where they are. Or are you high auditory? Can you hear what's being said?
Yes.
You know, when you find out what modality they're working from, it's easier to teach them.
Yes. Let's ask that.
Mm-hmm.
What are
High
you?
auditory.
High auditory.
High auditory.
So what you're hearing from me,
Mm-hmm.
within,
Mm-hmm.
all of it.
Yep.
So
High visual.
high visual,
Mm-hmm.
and what else?
High auditory, high visual, and
You're just sensing,
being here now.
just being.
So then you have all of them working
It declares. You can
Yeah.
feel it, see it, hear it.
Yes.
Let's ask that
Mhm.
as a round table. What is your, if not, it could be all of them.
Strong sense.
But what is your easiest clear? Audio, feeling, visual,
Clear sensing.
your feeling senses. Some of you even have the olfactory.
And you can have more than one.
You could have more than one.
Mm-hmm.
Clear knowing, clear cognizance. What do you feel you have?
Hearing, feeling.
Hearing and feeling. Kim?
Hearing, sensing.
Hearing and sensing.
I would say hearing and sensing.
Mm-hmm.
I know audience was one. Something.
Feeling, audio and feeling.
I'm not
Ju-
sure.
Justin, what do you feel like when you're asking yourself questions, looking for guidance within yourself? What's easy for you? To hear, to feel, to know, to see a vision,
Not to see.
to see,
Me too.
seeing, Madette, knowing,
Feeling.
feeling. I can hear really easily.
Yeah. I can hear.
Hear
Yeah, and here.
and hearing.
You're lucky as a teacher that we're all in that high auditory.
Yes.
Yes, what a blessing.
What a blessing, right? We're here for each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, oh.
Well, like I think I have to have the visual with the auditory because like if I was just hearing you say all this like on a phone or something, I wouldn't get it as much as being here, seeing it come out of your mouth and stuff.
Visual.
Seeing your presence. as you
Visual is
speak.
good. So the mix. What a blessing. Okay, so the maps. So when I opened up, I was going to make a post this morning on Facebook. I don't usually have Facebook on my phone anymore. For whatever reason, just don't resonate. But I saw this visual of Jerusalem, a map of the 12 something. It was a map system of the 12 kind of, and it was in a square of Jerusalem, gateways. And so that kind of like prompted me about how important this exercise is as far as maps. Like, what maps do you work with? So really kind of looking at that in your life, not only like a geographical map, but like, do you work with astrology? Do you work with the Bagua and Feng Shui? Is there any other maps that someone works with?
What's the Bagua? Is that like something that's balanced?
It's a 9 sector, I'm gonna call that, but it's a map of your, like you can overlay it over a building, over a house, over land, and it's certain areas of the place has certain stronger energies. So like where we are right now is the life path. Behind me is like helpful people and travel. So it's broken up in 9 segments. There we go. I couldn't think of that word. It wasn't quadrants. We'll add that in one day. I love that class.
I do too.
It's good.
Well, what other maps are there? I mean,
Well, that's what I was saying. Do you have any other maps? Iridology, acupuncture map?
also, like, what do you go to?
Yeah,
to
like
find
what are
an
your
answer,
maps that you
or-
go
Oh,
through?
like tarot readings or astrology
Okay.
or mediumship or psychic or
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say I go to a psychic.
Psychic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like some people use like the gene keys of the human design.
There we go. Gene keys, human design. So knowing the maps that you're working with and understanding that those maps that you're going to are helping build belief or giving you evidence of beliefs that you have so that your reality is created in certain ways. So just acknowledging, I was asked that we acknowledge those maps, and when we do an assignment, I'm just going to have us look at any map when we do our meditation to see if anything comes up that is of benefit or that is not. And we're going to ask to kind of clean up any cobwebs that are keeping you bound in a way that's no longer necessary or useful. For instance, I was even guided at a point in time, I know my astrology friends don't like this, but that I had to let go of astrology because it was a binding, keeping me under a certain fixed set of star systems and belief systems that were keeping me beyond what Spirit wanted to download to me, especially when I started writing the quantum material.
You were opening to
Yes,
something else.
I was going beyond, right? The ninth gateway of the thalamus, which is beyond the star systems that we see here. I had no idea that was going to come, you know, because I loved it. And not that I say I don't love it now. It's just at a point they were like, this is keeping you bound. And it was really strong. I think I told Spell this around like Mercury retrograde. They were like, enough already. Like, you can utilize to know that's going on, but we don't want you basing your reality anymore on that, because you're just fixing that belief so strongly that then you have weird stuff happen when it's when Mercury's going backwards.
And that's what Wayne Dyer said too, excuses no more, in his last book. Don't use anything as an excuse to keep you bound.
Yes,
But could you say that about everything then?
for sure.
Yeah.
But if for that time of my life, I was fixating too much, keeping myself from the next realm of my evolution.
Or letting something else come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, cause like some people be like, oh Lord, Mercury retro's coming.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Don't sign
And it's
any
like
papers,
this
don't do this,
huge,
don't go
like
to the house.
emotional reaction, and so
Excuse.
I acknowledge it, but I'm also like, let's
Okay.
just see, you know.
Then you can do that or better. You know, you're just aware of where the psyche of most of humanity possibly, that it follows that, could be. That even goes with your birthdays and things like that, you know, like your astrology signs. So we're just going to look at that. The other is to realize that these like geographical maps really do create these domes of reality that can feel limiting. And we want it to be very malleable for you. So also in the assignment, we're going to look for, is there anything that you need to pull up 4 corners on, meaning it's been bound into a piece of paperwork or a map that keeps you experiencing your reality in a limited fashion. You guys willing to do that?
Yeah.
Because as we come out of these different domes that are man-made and put on us from, especially when they've been like, again, just like inserted, and you don't realize that it's has such a strong control over your reality unconsciously, it's a good thing to go ahead and just do a little bit of a command to yourself to like disentangle, unwind, release, and allow yourself to be liberated from that. We've talked about this also in other classes. What time is it, Justin?
It is 2:19.
Time flies.
Okay, we gotta do this.
Time is an illusion.
Do you want me to not go into that? Just the doming of other people's thoughts. We've talked about this before. I had to do another cleanup yesterday. Because if you notice that things just start getting wonky and weird in your life, and it's not as yummy as you know that you have the ability to think it so and feel it so, you may want to check to see if there's just somehow you got underneath someone's thought prism. And I had a family member it happened with, and I was like, huh. And this can happen when they're just thinking about you, they care about you. And they must have just, I can see them in their chair, like just thinking about, oh, how's she doing over there? And you can get underneath someone's thought spell. And so I cleaned it up, and the other family member that lives with them, there's the ascension train, this is important. The other family member that lived with them told me, I don't know what got into him yesterday. Man, he never cleans up and like reorganize. He'll clean the whole house, reorganize it, took down the Christmas tree. I'm like, yeah, because I cleared out the dome over my head. So you can see how
The
we're,
limitation, you cleared out the limitation.
yes, I cleared all the limitations. So we're gonna check on that. Are you guys ready? Let's do this.
Before we do that,
Come
can
on.
you see this? Right on that third post, the top post.
Yeah.
With the sun coming in here,
Yes.
it's like beaming in.
It's a twinkle.
Over here, honey.
Oh,
Yeah. If you
The
look over
sun was
here.
shining above that the whole time you were talking,
mm,
and it was beaming in here
mm.
through
Yeah.
the crystal. I didn't even know there was a crystal up
Oh.
there until I thought, well, what is shining through that
Yeah.
that's coming in right here? Isn't that beautiful?
I love
Yeah.
that. Magic.
Mhm.
Okay, let's do a short assignment. Drop in. Whew. Close your eyes. Your two eyes. Open your inner eye. Let's do just a couple box breathing. So inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Suspend the breath outside of you for 4. One more time. Inhale through 4. Hold. Exhale. Suspend the breath out for 4. And then just breathe natural. In this first assignment, you can, if it feels good for you, you want to touch your thymus gland to keep yourself centered, you can. Otherwise, just put your hands super consciously where it feels like they need to be, how they need to be. I want you to first check, is there any geographical map system that needs to be brought awareness to? And the 2 assignments for each of these is there anything that's not for the highest good for you, entangled? If so, just pull back. With your breath will do it all with your intention. And then the things that are highest good for you, further entangle, quantum entangle with love, light, remembered. Really embody that, bring it into like such a gratitude for that map. Let it glow. Good. And so utilizing that beautiful foundation of glowing light of that map, just bring your awareness beyond that again, back to your own inner breath. And the next is there any other kind of map that we brought up? Astrological, any kind of map that came to your awareness that is not benefiting you in the highest and best? Just disentangle with a breath. And then re-quantum entangle with love, light, remembered towards that map so that it's best used for the highest and best ways. Let yourself expand from that. Good. And then next, just imagine the etherical realm surrounding your physical body, the astral realm surrounding that, and then the causal realm surrounding that. And let that just expand. Just ask within yourself to balance your essence, your soul essence in the perfect way in your aura. And just notice how your aura illuminates with those 3 packets of light around you. Does it bring more of your attention to your etherical, to your astral, to your causal? And if it does the whole thing, beautiful, but just as your own inner awareness, just gather that data. It's okay. And then expand. We needed that. And then expand your awareness into your aura for the highest and best. In the highest and best ways with those 3. Good. And then the final assignment is just check above you if there's any domes from any people that you have no idea who they are, you do know who they are, any groups or organizations, just anything that's no longer serving you. Just use your breath to pull your energy from that, dissolve, dismantle, release. It feels like there's several, just with your own inner command, you can say at speed of light for the highest and best in the highest best ways. I instantaneously reorganize, stabilize. And then expand into the totality, into the fullness and the richness of your wishes fulfilled, your highest and best life. Expand beyond those now. Receiving back your full sovereignty of your field of existence. Stabilizing in a new way for yourself and also for all those that you come in contact with. The beauty and the bounty and the blessings to be in the presence of your perfected field. And then just revel in that, give thanks, start to bring your energy streamline back into your midline. Just sparkle your aura, sparkle your essence, sparkle your whole being. Give so much bounty and bliss to the body parts that come to your attention as you come back in. I love you, like tell them how much you love them. I'm just so grateful. Send gratitude sparkles for this amazing avatar we find ourselves in. And then open your eyes when you feel ready. I tell you all, thank you, I love you, thank you. Thank you. Everybody feel okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that was like probably a minute. Play with that anymore. That feels necessary. Doesn't take long.